name?
It's Leona Rene Pruitt.
When's your birthday?
May 14th, 1949.
And what is your favorite color?
Black and white and gold and silver.
How do you describe yourself? Like, who do you identify as?
Mother, grandmother, foster mother, businesswoman, and a lot of fun.
So tell us about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
Well, as a child, I grew up on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, in the country, and also in Baltimore, Maryland. So it's kind of split between the two.
And how many siblings do you have?
Oh, well, I have 3 sisters and a brother.
Where were you born?
I was born in Camden, New Jersey, in a home. I wasn't born in a hospital. I was born in a home.
Oh, wow.
By
I never knew that.
Was there a midwife?
Yes, it was a midwife.
Was it a family member?
I don't know.
No, she wouldn't remember.
And where did you grow up at?
I grew up predominantly on the Eastern Shore, and the Eastern Shore, but when I say the Eastern Shore, with my grandparents sometime, and then with my mother in Cherry Hill, Baltimore area.
Who were the role models or someone who influenced you, throughout your life? Someone you look up to, someone you admire?
Well, I always, my maiden name is Pruitt, and my grandmother was Willa Mae Pruitt, who lived to be 104 years old, and that's who I admired, and I aspired to be like her, because she was a mother, grandmother, and a mother to everyone, and welcomed everybody in her home. And she was a Christian lady. She always prayed, and I just admired her spirit and her kindness.
And could you share with us your most, or any memorable experiences you had as a child growing up?
Memorable experiences? Yeah, I can remember being in, having to speak in front of an audience, and I was always afraid to speak in front of an audience, and I had to prepare, and I prepared a puppet, and because I didn't want to speak in front of my class, and when it was my turn to do that, my teacher called me, and I got behind the desk and I put the puppet up so the puppet could talk to do the presentation. and the teacher looked, because everybody else had presented, in front of the class, and he told me, "What are you doing?" And I'm behind the desk, and and peeking behind, he said, "Get up and do your presentation." And I got up and ran out of the class and ran all the way home.
Oh, man.
And then he ran out of the school after me to my home.
So from that day forward, did you get rid of your shyness to speak in front of people?
Yes, because as a child, you take after your parents, and my father stuttered. And that's what I always did. I stuttered, and I used to practice standing in front of a mirror talking until I could get it together, speaking in front of an audience. So I overcame my shyness by doing that, and putting myself into opportunities, jobs, and opportunities to speak to others.
All right, Mazy, what were your aspirations and dreams growing up? Like, what did you want to be?
Well, I always wanted to be a teacher because I always played school, and I always wanted to take the teacher role. instead of being the student. So yes, I always wanted to be the teacher.
And what was your first job?
My first job was working in cattle soup with tomatoes in New Jersey. I had to put my age up to work. But my first job was a go-go girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dancing?
Yes.
Tell us about that. What was the experience like that? Or like...
Yeah, actually dancing in a cage.
Oh.
Yes, with little mini
Spicy.
skirts on. I used to make my uniform.
And it had the shoes all over
Yeah,
it.
the little,
The tassels.
tassels and stuff.
The big go-go boots?
Yeah. No, not the go-go boots so much, but I guess I had legs at that time.
Ooh.
Yeah, I did that. I put my age up too because I was in a bar setting. I always put my age up to be able to work early and make money.
What are some other jobs you've had?
Oh, I've had being a teacher. I went to school to become a teacher, special education, mathematics, paraprofessional in the classroom, and that's probably most of the main ones that I can remember.
IBM too, right?
Oh, I worked for IBM, definitely.
engineer?
International Business Machine Company as a computer, they call it a customer engineer. So that's what my title was. And I traveled a lot and we had different customers in Washington, D.C., the capital, and I also did a lot of traveling to go to school.
That's pretty cool. Didn't you also own a nail salon?
Oh yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I always wanted to have my own business, so I decided to open up a nail salon, which I went to school for, and then I also opened up the nail salon on the Eastern Shore. It's called Rene's Final Touch.
Ooh, nice. Since you just mentioned you went to school for cosmetology, what other colleges did you go to, or what did you study?
Yeah, I went to several colleges. I guess Columbia Union College, the Maryland State. It was Maryland State then, but I went as the Maryland University. I went to Morgan. I think that's about it.
University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
University of Maryland Eastern Shore, yes.
I went there.
Yeah.
Well, you also went to George Washington? Was it George Washington?
Yeah, George Washington, yeah. I was a school fanatic, actually. I wanted to always get an education. That was my, utmost goal was always to educate myself in as many areas as I could do it at the time that I had time to do it.
So I know you grew up in the civil rights movement and the human rights movement. So can you share any experiences from that time?
Oh, I have many. I was a rebel, and I was very. When I say rebel, I fell in love with Harriet Tubman reading about her story, and the man that I married, my daughter's father, Joseph Perry. He had owned a restaurant on the Eastern Shore, and I had a vision that he should change the name of the restaurant to Harriet Tubman Restaurant, a bar and lounge and restaurant. And his mother was living during the time, Olivia, the grandmother, and I talked to them, and they thought it was a good idea. So I went to the county legislature in Cambridge, Maryland, and I presented that that's what we wanted to do. So we did it. We changed the name, or they changed the name because it was their restaurant, and we put up the new sign from Gentleman Joe's to Harriet Tubman Restaurant and Bar Lounge.
Wow.
Are there any specific times during your youth like any events during your youth that kind of stuck out to you during like the civil rights movement? That
Yeah, when I say I was a rebel, I would get out and parade, march against discrimination. You know, many times I did that down on the Eastern Shore and in Washington D.C. Anytime there was, you know, a movement, I would be involved in it from the civil rights point of view. There had been, I think, incidents in D.C. where I even was on television, you know, yelling and shouting, and you know, that was my thing to you know, speak out for the communities, especially on the Eastern Shore, because I wanted them to rejuvenate the Pine Street area, to bring up the businesses that had gone down, I guess, wraparound, and I wanted that to, because they had burnt down that part of Cambridge, and I thought that should be built up again, because a lot of businesses couldn't survive after that.
Yeah.
And I wanted that. That's my whole thing, was to rejuvenate, and I would march for rejuvenation. I went to local churches and I talked to local churches about, you know, to the congregation. I would talk to the ministers, and they would let me speak on this subject, and you know, to get people to join.
Very cool, very cool. So what would you say to like the protesters now, right? Like we have so many like civil rights, you know, issues going on in the world, and like, you know, what do you think is like the strongest thing to create change?
I think we hear so much propaganda on the TV, and it keeps me confused. I try to follow it, but it's so much, you know, especially now with the election. But I think, you know, joining in to where you believe is going to make the most benefit for everyone, not just a particular group of people, but for everyone to benefit from whatever changes are made in our country or across the world.
Awesome.
All right. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I would say stay positive, and forgiveness, be able to forgive others.
I think, what advice do you have for embracing change? Let's start there.
Embracing change. I you know, by growing up in a technical, you know, IBM, we had to take change management. So, you know, learning about change and how to accept change, it was one of the goals of being professional with them. So I would say adapting to change probably wouldn't have come easy until I had to take courses in that area to, you know, to learn how to accept change, because that's when the computers were coming in and people's lives were being changed by them. And, you know, we had to be aware that our customers would have to, like technology now for elder people, it's hard to accept the change. And it was hard during that generation too, to accept, you know, just the computer,
Right, from
or not having
to a computer,
a home phone plugged in the wall to a cell phone. So, you know, that's where the change came in, mostly.
Yeah.
How would you say you kind of dealt with that? Like, you know,
I dealt with it pretty good after I'd learned how it could affect people, or how it would affect people. And so that was the management part. being objective to the changes that took place.
So you adapted pretty well. It wasn't too
Yeah.
much of a challenge for you.
I don't think it was. I
Did
can't
it seem
remember.
to be easier, like from writing on in a notebook or a journal or a ledger to now doing it on a computer?
Oh, now it's, I guess, because of my mindset being older, it's annoying to me. It's really annoying to me because there's so much technology, being thrown at you quicker. I think it's, and that's another thing we always talked about, the rate of change. And today it seems like that the rate of change is so quick, whereas before change was slower. But we also learned about that change would be more rapid as the world progressed. So, so me dealing with it today is difficult, I would say.
What role has faith or spirituality played in your life?
Oh wow, this is a good one for me because all my life I, like I said, my grandmother, poor lady, grandmother, she was always spiritual and she always prayed around me and I always watched her in prayer and I always went to church with her because she always took me. And well, I want to point out this recently in the last, I guess, 4 months? Our family prayer line call, being more personal. I get up every morning, and as all of us do, 6 o'clock in the morning, to get on a prayer call for 10 minutes to talk about God and read scriptures and then to converse about it. And those 10 minutes has been a big blessing in my life. It's helped me, and we've been talking about the subject for, forgiveness. And that has really opened my eyes. Keeping, instead of horizontally, vertical connection with Heavenly Father, I think that's been the most accomplishment for me, looking over everything, because that's been a progression, it's been a walk, it's been a journey, because it didn't always start out with me, that way. It was on and off. You're on one segment of your life and then you're off. But I think as you grow older, you get more connected with Heavenly Father and the way He wants you to become connected, and stay connected no matter what happens to you in life.
Okay.
Mazy, the question everyone wants to answer to. Where did the name Mazy come from?
I had told my children, don't call me grandma, growing up, the ones that were grandchildren. And so I said I wanted to make up a name, so I made up Mazy. And my husband said, well, you can't have a name by yourself, David. And he said, we got to make up a name. So he made up his Fozzie. So it became Mazy and Fozzie. So that's how we got to be Mazy and Fozzie. And
I have a question for you. What legacy do you hope to leave for future generations?
The legacy, don't ever stop laughing. Because I know when I was growing up, my mom would always tell me, stop giggling. She would always say, Rene, stop giggling. I just giggled all the time, and I'm 73 years old now, and I still giggle.
74.
74. Thanks for reminding me I'm 1 year older again.
A legacy of laughter.
A legacy of laughter. Still be joyful, a lot of fun. Even as an old person, you can still laugh and you can still giggle, because I do it all the time. It's been really good. I've enjoyed doing this.
I feel like I've learned a lot.
That's awesome. Well, that's the purpose. So we